Okay, so today we're cracking open a book that's nearly 250 years old, but it did something absolutely incredible. It didn't just tell a story, it unleashed a cultural firestorm and basically invented the blueprint for the tortured romantic hero we still see everywhere. We're talking about Goethe's The Sorrows of Young Werther. And right away, boom, we are pulled directly into the mind of our hero, Werther. I mean, just listen to that. For him, love isn't just a part of life, it is life. His whole reality, his very sense of self, is completely wrapped up in one person. This one line, it's not just poetry, it's pretty much a diagnosis for everything that's about to go wrong. Now, you have to understand, this book didn't just appear out of nowhere. It was the lightning rod for a whole movement called Sturm und Drang, storm and stress. It was a massive rebellion against the cold, hard logic of the Enlightenment. It was all about championing the wild, messy, untamed human heart. And Werther? Well, he is its ultimate tragic poster child. And in becoming that poster child, Werther creates an archetype that, honestly, we still can't get enough of. You know the type. The sensitive, artistic soul whose feelings are just too big, too intense for the world around him. Feeling everything so deeply. It's both his greatest gift and his absolute curse. And here's what's so brilliant about how Goethe tells this story. It's all told through Werther's personal letters. So as a reader, you are literally trapped inside his head. You're complicit in his psychological breakdown because you only see the world through his obsessive and increasingly unstable eyes. There's no narrator to give you a reality check. You're on the ride with him all the way down. All right, so what's the spark that lights this whole fire? It's his all-consuming passion for a woman named Lottie. And here's the catch. From the moment he meets her, she's already engaged to someone else. This isn't just a little obstacle. It is the fundamental, unsolvable problem that his entire existence will revolve around. And listen to the language here, because it's so important. This isn't framed as a simple, sad crush. No, it's talked about like a terminal condition, a wasting illness. This love is a disease that eats away at his talent, his common sense, and ultimately, his will to live. Piece by agonizing piece. So this illness really sets up the book's central fight. And it's not just about a guy trying to win a girl's heart. It's a much bigger battle between two completely different ways of seeing the world. It's basically a philosophical war, and it's all being fought inside Werther's head. So on one side, you've got Werther. He is pure, unfiltered emotion. He truly believes that the only authentic way to live is to feel everything to the absolute extreme. And on the other side, you've got Lot's fiancé, Albert. He's the embodiment of logic, order, and reason. He's stable, he's disciplined, he's predictable. He is everything that Werther is not. And that's why this is so much more than just a love triangle. Werther isn't just fighting Albert for Lot's affection. He's fighting against the entire structure of the world he lives in. A rational, orderly world that Albert perfectly represents. Every argument they have is a little snapshot of this huge cultural battle. Now, this war inside his head gets turned up to 11 by some very real pressures from the outside world. It's not just that his heart is out of step with everyone else, his entire being is. Werther just cannot find a place for himself in the rigid, rule-bound society of his time. See, as an educated middle-class guy, he's completely stuck. He's looked down on by the aristocrats he works for who think he's too emotional and doesn't know his place, and at the same time, he's totally alienated from the common people he idealizes from a distance. He doesn't fit in upstairs or downstairs. He belongs absolutely nowhere. The breaking point comes when he's publicly humiliated, basically kicked out of a fancy party for breaking some stupid rule of etiquette. After that, his disillusionment is total. In his eyes, society isn't just annoying, it's a fake, oppressive prison that cares more about appearances than real feeling. And this rejection from the outside world just shoves him deeper and deeper inside his own head. So he's rejected by society, right? He retreats entirely inward. And as he does, something really fascinating happens. His perception of the physical world, of nature itself, starts to rot right along with his mental state. At the beginning of the book, nature is his happy place. It's an idyllic refuge, a source of peace. But as his hope dies, that exact same landscape becomes terrifying and desolate to him. It's the same world, but he's seeing it through the lens of his despair. For Werther, his perception is his reality. So where can this possibly lead? Well, in his warped state of mind, suicide starts to look logical.
It's not a weakness, like Albert would say. To Werther, it becomes a legitimate, almost noble escape from a pain he just can't endure anymore. It becomes the final rational act in a life governed by overwhelming emotion. And his final act is not some sudden impulse, not at all. It's a meticulously planned conclusion. He hears about another man who killed for love, and he identifies with him. He pushes Lotte until she has no choice but to reject him completely. He stages one last, intensely emotional meeting. And then, in a moment that is just chillingly calm, he asks to borrow his rival's pistols. Every step is a deliberate move toward the only outcome he can see.
But the story doesn't really end with Werther's death, because what happened after the book was published is almost as shocking as the story itself. It had a real-world impact that Goethe himself never could have imagined. A cultural mania, literally called Werther fever, just swept across Europe. It started innocently enough, with young men dressing like him in his signature blue coat and yellow vest. But it turned much, much darker. The book was actually banned in several countries because it was linked to a tragic and horrifying wave of real-life copycat suicide. In fact, this phenomenon was so significant, so real, that he gave its name to a modern psychological term we still use, the Werther effect. It describes the spike in suicides that can occur after a widely publicized case. It makes the story from the 1700s feel startlingly and very soberingly relevant today. When you boil it all down, Werther's tragedy is about being crushed between two extremes. He's caught between an outside world that's too rigid and superficial to make room for his passion, and an inner world of passion so all-consuming that it completely burns away his connection to reality. And really, the story just leaves you with this huge, timeless question. How do any of us balance the intense demands of our own hearts with the unyielding realities of the world? It's the conflict that destroyed Werther, and in so many ways, it's a struggle we are all still figuring out.